Story time! Hilda's Carriage by Selby Lowndes. I wish I hadn't hurt my foot, and I wish the school treat had not been fixed for today. And oh, I wish Mama was at home and everything quite different, said Hilda, quite exhausted with this long list of wishes. Poor little Hilda. It was very trying for her to have to spend this lovely summer day on the sofa when all the others were enjoying themselves at the school treat. And what made matters worse was that it was her own fault that she had hurt her foot. 3 days before, in her anxiety to know if there was a letter from Mama, who had gone to see Grandmama, who was ill, Hilda had run downstairs with bare feet, a thing strictly forbidden by Nurse, and the consequence of this wild run was that Hilda caught her foot on a nail, and hurt herself so much she could not put her foot to the ground. It was with a very mournful look Hilda lay and gazed out of the window and tried to imagine how delightful everything must be in the rectory garden where the treat was to take place. Suddenly, a bright, cheery voice was heard shouting through the house. "Carrie, Tom, Hilda, where are you all?" "It's Bob!" exclaimed Hilda, sitting bolt upright in her delight. Then, as the door was thrown open, she added, "Oh, Bob, darling, how did you come?" And she stretched out her arms lovingly to her brother. "I thought I'd take you all by surprise. But where is everybody? And you have been crying, oh Hilda, in disgrace," he asked, and I am sorry to say, he actually laughed as he spoke. "It's my foot." She stuck out a poor little foot wrapped up in a handkerchief. "And Bob, it's the school treat today. They've all gone, and I'm all by myself, 'cause Mama's away." "Yes, I know she is. I heard from her. And so the poor little woman can't go to the treat." There was silence for a moment. Hilda nestled close to Bob as she whispered, "Are you going to the treat too?" She couldn't help the tears filling her eyes as he answered, "Yes, of course." Then came, "And you are going too." "Me? Oh, Bob, how lovely! But my foot! I must not walk." "Then you shall drive." She gazed at him in wonder and admiration. Was there ever such a delightful brother as this? In Hilda's eyes, he was the finest and bravest officer in the Queen's Navy, for Master Bob was a midshipman, and a very fine young middy he looked, with his bright merry face, as he stood beside Hilda's sofa and said, "Now then, I must be off and order your carriage." Then he turned and left the room before Hilda had time to ask any questions. What can he mean to get? Oh, how nice the world is now. Then, with a happy laugh, she added, "Won't Nurse and everybody be surprised to see me?" In a few minutes, Anne, the maid, came in with Hilda's outdoor things in her hand. "I've come to dress you, Miss Hilda dear, while Master Bob has gone to get the carriage ready." "Do you know what carriage he has got? Is it the fly that brought him from the station?" Anne laughed. "He walked from the station." "But you know, Anne, you laughed. Oh, do tell me," she coaxed, but all in vain. Then Bob's voice was heard calling, and Anne lifted Hilda in her arms and carried her downstairs. In front of the hall door stood Bob, and beside him was Hilda's carriage. At the sight of it, Hilda gave a loud "Oh!" then went off into a peal of laughter in which all the others joined, for not only had the women servants come to see her off, but the old gardener too. How they all did laugh at the carriage Bob had prepared. And what do you think it was? The wheelbarrow. In it, Bob had placed a soft, bright rug and some cushions. When Hilda was seated in it, Anne tucked her well up in a shawl and asked if she was comfortable. "Oh, it's lovely. It's the nicest carriage in the world." "Ready, ma'am?" asked Bob, and then away they started, Bob wheeling it in splendid style. "I'd best see you through the field, for the gate's locked," said the gardener, "and I'd go slower, Master Bob, for a wheelbarrow is a jerky sort of conveyance, in my opinion." It would not have been an easy matter to lift Hilda and her carriage together over the gate without the gardener's assistance, but with it they managed capitally. As they drew near the gate of the rectory, the sound of children's voices singing was heard through the soft summer air. "They are singing the grace," said Hilda, as Bob stopped to listen as she spoke. Bob lifted his cap reverently, and Hilda folded her hands, and both brother and sister joined in the song of praise and thanksgiving. "Hold on tight, Hilda, and we will arrive in style," said Bob as they came to the turning in the carriage drive close to the front door. How surprised and amused everyone was when Hilda and Bob made their appearance can well be imagined, and how everyone laughed at Hilda's fine carriage. But everybody agreed in thinking that it was a very clever idea of Bob's. The rector himself acted coachman and drove Hilda's carriage up to the long tables, down each side of which were seated bright, happy children. And although Hilda was not able to run about and wait upon them, as she would have liked, she thought herself so fortunate in being there at all. She had neither room in her heart nor time at her command to wish for anything more. When tea was finished and the tables cleared away, so many little boys and girls gathered round Hilda's carriage and wondered what it would feel like to drive in such a wonderful carriage, that Hilda was lifted out and sat in a chair while all the other children took turns to have a drive. Of course, it was not a bit like the wheelbarrows they were accustomed to, for this one was so pretty and comfortable, and not hard and stained with work like those that Father used. Then Hilda took her place again among the cushions, and had all the toys and books that were to be given as prizes for the winners of the games and races placed beside her, and was allowed to hand to each happy winner his prize. At last came the words, "Time to go home." This time the little troop was headed by Hilda in her carriage, with brother Bob as coachman. "He is as good as a fairy godmother, Hilda," said a young friend who stood near. "Only it's not a coach and six," added another with a laugh. "He's better than any fairy godmother, and this carriage is better than a coach and six," answered Hilda promptly. "Isn't it?" she added softly, looking up at Mr. Sumner, who stood beside her. "I think so, dear, but why do you? I should like to know your reason." Hilda whispered softly, "Why? He's my own brother, and he did it all himself. He took all the trouble and went and got the wheelbarrow, and made it comfortable for me, and drove it here himself, although he was so hot. Now the fairy godmother had no trouble at all. She just waved her wand and it was all done. And don't you think the fairy godmother might have let Cinderella stay longer than 12? And it must have been horrid to run back all by herself in the dark. Bob wouldn't let me do that. He has waited till quite the end of the treat, and he's going to take me home himself." And there was a glad ring of triumph in Hilda's voice, and a proud look of love in her eyes as she ended her speech. The kind old rector patted Hilda's glowing cheek gently as he answered, "Yes, dear, you are quite right. Kind actions and thoughtful deeds of love, however small and simple they may be, are indeed priceless treasures, not only to the one who receives them, but to the giver himself." And, interrupted a small child eagerly, who had been listening intently to every word, Hilda's carriage won't turn into a pumpkin, but it will last her until she gets safely home. Yes, I am quite sure that it's much nicer than that stupid old pumpkin.